if you're planning a shoot, don't stay too attached to the plan because things will go wrong and you will have to compensate for that. All right, everybody, Joe, Passion Unchained here. I'm going to do one thing I have not yet done ever. I'm going to go over all of the photos from one of my recent shoots. I'm going to explain a little bit about why I chose to do these photos for this client and a little bit about what went into them. That way, if you're curious about improving your own dating profile results, you can learn from my process, apply it to your own profile on your own. Or if you're curious about working with me, but still want to know a little bit more about what I do and why it's important and want to get excited before you book a call because you might be on the fence, this video is for you. This video will help you know more about my process. So looking forward to sharing it with you. Without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back, everybody. This guy's name is Martin. He flew me and my assistant out to Chicago, and we did a shoot over there. And before our shoot, I got on a call with him and got a bunch of information about his hobbies and what he's looking for in women. Using that information, I was able to put together a list of shots for us to get. And then also in person, we did a few extra ones we didn't think about at first. And there was actually a huge mix-up on this day. I didn't do some research, and I unfortunately didn't realize that a lot of the places we were going to go were closed. So we ended up doing some photos the next day so we can hit those places we wanted to hit. And you'll see here in the shoot when that happens. So sometimes we have to improvise during the shoot because something goes wrong. It's actually pretty common. And that's one of the skills that I bring to the table and that I think is important if you're trying to do your own photo shoot. Things might be closed, there might be too many people, or something goes wrong where you have to redo the shoot and you have to put some time in for that. So don't expect things to go right because things will go wrong, and that's important to know. He is a boxer. He's actually been a pro boxer a few times, and I wanted to highlight that by doing a couple of different boxing photos as well as some more general active photos like going to the gym. As you can see, these photos he is putting on his hand wraps. We did that in a gym. We actually had to coordinate. His gym was cool with letting us in there after hours on our own since it was Saturday and they were closing. So we had to get there in time. They gave us the keys to the place essentially, and we were able to shoot in there. And that took a lot of back and forth between me and him and his gym. So some planning had to be done before then. And as you can see, I did a lot of photos with him and his bag. I actually, I'm going to put up some behind the scenes here. I had a light on the tripod here that we used to light him up since it was a bit dark without that. And then we also did some photos of him getting in the ring. I wanted a couple different variety because boxing was so important to his life, so I wanted to make sure we were able to give him a bunch of different options for him to use for his dating profiles. And then I had him switch his clothes to do a little bit of a gym workout. And since the gym area of the boxing gym was a bit different than the boxing area, I figured we could use both photos in the same profile, which means we gotta switch the clothes. That way it looks like it's a different day. Then he took us, this was actually more of an improv shot. He was like, hey, there's this cool downtown area before we go back to Chicago, since this was in a nearby city called Highland Park. Let's see what it's like, just drive through, see if there's anything we want to do. And there was this cool park area, and we decided to have him sit down and eat an ice cream cone just for funsies. There's also this little bit here I'm going to show you. I think I put it in the Chicago vlog, but Tracy, my assistant, caught me in a really silly position here. Then we got back to Chicago, unfortunately finding out that a few of the places we were going to take photos of were closed. So we went to the next best place, got some good shots, and then proceeded to go to the next place after that. Here he is with a coffee in hand walking down the street. It's a really cool, candid photo. The prop itself, just having the coffee cup in his hand, takes this photo up several notches. The reason I say that is because without the coffee cup, he's just kind of staying there. It doesn't really say anything about him, but with the coffee cup, the photo feels a lot more candid. After this moment, things got pretty frustrating because we went to 2 or 3 or 4 more places that we'd planned on going, and each of them were closed, and I hadn't accounted for that because I'd done a bunch of location scouting earlier in the day with my assistant, but unfortunately, I didn't look at the closing time. A big learning lesson for me. It's never been an issue in the past, which is why I hadn't been super stringent on looking at closing times and making sure logistics worked out. I just assumed it would be fine, but unfortunately it wasn't. What I ended up doing was, at this point, we had gotten some food from a street truck, and we were going to take photos right next to the street truck, but at that time, the sun had gone too far down. It wasn't a great photo anymore. So we found a good table for him to eat the burrito that he bought, and we decided for him to come back the next day for us to fill in the gaps with all the photos that we wanted to get, but that were closed. Before that, though, we decided to get one last photo, more of a thirst shot. I love getting this photo for guys who are looking for something more casual. It looks like the cover of a romance novel, and I love getting this photo. It's so fun, and it always turns out really nicely. We got that right in my hotel room before he left. The next day, we met him in the lobby of the hotel to get this photo, him reading. I have this book that is called Sex, A Man's Guide. It just says sex in big letters. And any of my clients who are looking for something more on the casual end, I let them use that for a shot. I also took some photos where you couldn't see the title of the book in case he wanted to make a more relaxed photo without being as in your face about casual sex. Then we went to a park that we wanted to go to the day before, but that was closed at the time, and got him some photos writing in one of my journals. He's flipped to a blank page because, of course, I didn't want him to see my private entries, and we got him looking like a badass journaling in my leather-bound journal that I bought in Mexico. After that, we decided to go to a different park, which was actually not the original park we wanted to go to, but it looked much better. So we went to that park, and he had some headphones, some Beats headphones that I think looked really cool. He loves music. He's a big fan of music, and I wanted to portray that. It was actually a spur-of-the-moment shot. A lot of the shots that we get are spur of the moment. We have a list, and sometimes that list takes a lot less time than we thought it would take. And so I'm like, well, what extra shots can we get that we didn't talk about? Well, that's cool. You have this thing. You have this hobby that you didn't even tell me about. I once did a photo shoot with a client who was a pretty successful YouTuber in the dating space, actually, specifically for women. So I wouldn't have watched him since I look at a lot of dating advice for men, for research, for my own business, and also for my own life. But this guy, he does dating advice for women. He's pretty damn successful at it. And I met up with him, and I'm like, oh, there's camera equipment all over the place. Do you do videos? He's like, yeah, I'm a successful YouTuber. And I'm like, what? He showed me his channel. I'm like, that is a lot of subscribers. And he's like, yeah. And it was a really interesting thing that I somehow didn't know before actually meeting him on the shoot. So of course we incorporated that into his shot. So a lot of the stuff that we do is just like, oh, that's really cool. Let's figure out how to get that in a shot right now. And then we end up getting that in a shot in the moment. So this was one of the things where I'm like, well, it'd be really cool if you were listening to your music and walking towards me, where it's like, oh, cool. It's like there's the city in the background. It looks gorgeous. There's a park on one side, and you can tell you're enjoying the music. And that's a really great, candid feeling photo that shows that he loves music and that he also loves to be outside and active, which are all things that are true for this guy. And all of them are attractive to women. And actually, my assistant had an idea for a second pose in the same park, which you can see here, where he's relaxing, kind of sunbathing in the sun. And we got a couple extra photos right there. So that's how we planned the shoot and how we put it together. If you can tell, a lot of things went wrong during the shoot. A lot of things went wrong during the shoot, and we had to compensate and think on our feet. Things went a little more south than usual on this shoot. Usually a few things go wrong. We'll have to replace one place or two places maximum with a different location. But in this shoot, a few extra things went wrong because of there was an event that closed down a lot of locations we were going to get to, plus some of the other locations had closed in general. And so that was a big issue for us that fortunately we were able to work around, and we were able to make photos that got just as good, if not better, results for him. So that's one of the things that you can learn is if you're planning a shoot, don't stay too attached to the plan, because things will go wrong and you will have to compensate for that. I've done over 140 clients at this point in over 25 cities, approaching 30 cities in 3 countries on 2 continents. So I'm really excited to share all of this information and knowledge that I've gotten with you guys. At this point, I am super confident in my ability to bring results to my clients. If you want to skip all the trouble and just let me do it for you, there's a link in the description below. Click on it, check out my packages, and book a call with me. On the call, I'll answer any last-minute questions you have and book you in for a shoot if you are ready for that. And I'm excited to help you get some results. Until next time, my friends, goodbye.